At the northern border of the Crassus kingdom, Duke Elian, who is the lord of the northern frontier, gathers his entire troop ready to take on the undead army heading straight for the city. Standing in the presence of the undead army lets Elian realize that the undead army is way beyond what he and his soldiers can handle. Among them is the undead knight Durian, who puts fear in everyone he comes across. Durian is said to be so powerful that even 10 high-ranking knights fighting to the death doesn't guarantee a win against him. The soldiers see this and start to freak out. They tell the Duke that they have no chance against the undead army, and it would be best if they retreat. The soldiers believe that it would be best if they prepare a siege rather than face the undead army straight on. The Duke understands their fear because he is also scared, but he lets his people know that the northern wall has fallen already. They are the last line of defense, and if the undead breaks through to the city gates, it is over for the country. Elian tells his soldiers that no matter what they do or how they do it, they need to make sure that they hold off the undead army. Suddenly, an unknown rider goes past the troops at high speed and heads straight for the undead army. The soldiers are shocked to see this as they wonder who it is that is charging into the undead army without caution. Suddenly, it dawns on them that it is Uran Rox. Uran Rox has been sent to help them from the southern marquisate of Rox. Apparently, the carefree rider, Uran Rox, is our protagonist, and he fights with daggers. They know of Uran's capabilities, but the soldiers doubt if he will be able to do anything against Durian. They conclude that Durian will never fall to daggers, but they have not finished making their conclusions when Uran hits the undead knight with his dagger. The dagger sticks to Durian's head, which he is holding in his hand. Surprisingly, the head is sent flying and Durian starts melting away. This leaves everyone stunned and they refuse to believe what is unfolding right in front of their eyes. Uran doesn't stop there. He continues throwing daggers into the zombie soldiers and one by one, they melt away. In no time, Uran is standing all alone, while all that is in front of him is nothing but dust left from zombie bodies. The soldiers who are watching try to wake up from whatever dream they are in, but soon realize that it is real life. They wonder if Uran is a saint sent to save them by the heavens. Uran hears them call him a saint, and this makes him laugh since they are far from the truth. After defeating the undead, Uran stands still to check his stats from the status screen. From the information on the status screen, he realizes that he has gained experience points. Apparently, he used a poison called Firebone Mountain, and this is a poison that even melts undead marrow. Because Uran just used it, the poison gained a ton of experience. Uran doesn't mind taking everything as long as it is useful for him. 6 months before then, our protagonist had opened his eyes to find himself in a strange room. He's on a king-sized bed inside a luxurious room. He suddenly heard someone call him young master. He looks up to see a beautiful woman knight standing in front of him. He is still commending her beauty when he realizes that the clothes she is wearing look strange. The knight asks him if he is feeling okay, and before he can answer, she mentions that she is going to call for the priest. As she turns around to leave, Uran calls her back, telling her that he would like to ask her something. However, the knight just ignores him and walks out of the room. After she is gone, Uran gets out of bed and walks to the mirror. This is where he is hit with the greatest surprise. He screams in agony when he realizes that he is some chubby, ugly dude with a beatable face. Uran starts questioning everything that he knows, wondering where his handsome middle-aged body has disappeared to. He cannot believe that he has transformed into an ugly, chubby brat. He starts to panic, wondering if he is in a dream or something. He is thinking of going back to sleep so he can wake to his original body when the priest enters the room. The priest is accompanied by the head of the house and the female knight. The head of the house looks absolutely terrifying as he stares down at Uran. The priest holds Uran's hand to check his pulse. While the priest is doing this, the head of the house calls Uran a total disgrace, wondering why he finally decided to wake up. Uran is crippled in fear as he wonders who the scary man is. The priest urges the head of the house to calm down since Uran just woke up, and he can punish him later. The priest checks Uran's body and reveals his surprise that he is not badly injured. In fact, his mind is stable and all of his injuries are gone. The priest says this is a relief, but the head of the house argues with him, saying Uran is better off dead. Things escalate as the man screams at Uran, telling him that he beat his fiancée. Uran is genuinely confused about everything that is happening, and the old man continues with his nagging, saying Uran is 19 years old and he still hasn't grown up. The head of the house screams again, telling Uran that he is useless since his brother has been able to awaken his aura. Uran, on the other hand, is getting fatter by the day. At the mention of the word aura, something clicks in Uran's head. The man then tells Uran to apologize to her when he recovers. Uran is confused by what the man means by her. This earns him another round of nagging as the man reminds him that he is talking about his fiancée, Ilya. The man lets Uran know that he is done for if his fiancée doesn't forgive him. Uran is forced to ask again so he can know if he heard right. The man repeats Ilya's name and he tells him to stop disgracing the Rox family any longer. The man then ends his statement by calling him his name, Uran. At this point, Uran confirms his fear, realizing that he is Uran Rox. Since he is Uran Rox, he concludes that the man is Marquis Wielding Rox. The man hears this and he gets mad. He immediately turns around to smack Uran on the face, asking him why he has so much audacity to call his own father by his name. Uran falls to the ground, and before Wielding can beat him any further, the priest and the female guard hold him back. Uran remains on the floor as he starts rethinking all of his life's decisions. He cannot believe what is happening to him. He passes out and expects to wake back up to reality. When he wakes up, he is shocked to see that he is still in the same room and the female knight is there with him. He wonders why he is not waking up from the dream, and the female guard walks up to him, asking him some dumb question about whether he is awake. Uran decides to fully confirm if he is right with his deduction. He calls the female guard Aaron, and just as he feared, the lady answers to the name. He then confirms from Aaron that the reason he was bedridden is that he went after Ilya and got beaten up to the extent that he passed out. Aaron reveals that Uran attacked his fiancée in the room, but she turned the tables and beat the crap out of Uran before he finally passed out. Uran grabs his head in horror as if he just remembered something crazy. Aaron is confused as to what is wrong with the dude, but Uran knows that he is so fucked. Uran finally calms down, and he comes to the bitter realization that he has somehow ended up inside the web novel that he wrote. However, the worst thing is that he didn't enter the web novel as the protagonist. He ended up coming into the story as the trash villain who picks a fight with the hero and ends up dying horribly. Uran starts freaking out again, leaving Aaron to ask him what is wrong with him. Uran screams, saying he has somehow found himself in a trash story that is not even a webtoon. The Uran Rox that he has possessed is a piece of trash who has no talent, no skills, and he never trains. He is just a dumb villain who leeches off his family name as the heir, but then he loses his fiancée to the protagonist. Enraged, he attacked the protagonist, but this turned out to be a mistake on his path because the protagonist trashed him before killing him in a dirty back alley. Now that he has found himself in the body of a trash person, our guy wonders how he is supposed to survive. Since this is a fantasy world, he is still confused about what abilities Uran has at all. However, he knows about the chances and items that the protagonist hasn't found yet. Uran comes to the conclusion that his only chance is to prepare quickly. He tries getting off the bed, but his body is too heavy because of the fat, and he crashes to the ground. Aaron quickly runs over to check on him. She asks him if he is alright, but with frustration written all over his face, he tells Aaron that he is far from fine. Just then, Uran realizes that he can finally see the status screen. With this, he is able to see Aaron's stats. Aaron's trait is the level 2 Swift Sword, a clear mind, level aura, level adaptation, and, for her affection level toward Uran, it is 0. Uran is glad to have been able to summon the status window, and he tells Aaron that she is free to leave because he is feeling much better. Aaron adheres to his instructions and starts to leave. As she walks away, Uran focuses on her stats. He is not surprised since Aaron is built to be stronger than most regular knights. But he is surprised that her affection level is 0. Uran is particularly worried that there is an affection option on the status window. Uran wonders if this option is there because he mostly played dating sims in the past. He can't believe that the world building in the world he has found himself in is total trash. He then thinks back on the affection option, wondering if it is the reason Aaron is acting all strange. However, he leaves this aside and decides to check the mirror again. He is so pissed about the trash body that he has. Just then, the status window opens up so he can see his stats. He is excited to check his stats, but the excitement soon falls into the bin when he sees the rubbish stats that he has. For his special condition, the system lets him know that he is suffering from morbid obesity, which is pretty obvious by the way. For his trait, he has the Eye of the Creator, but this is still on level 1. He is also blessed with the Four Heavenly Venom Arts, but this section is still locked. However, his synchronizing rate is 99.9%. Uran realizes that only one of his abilities stands out, and this is the Four Heavenly Venom Arts. Suddenly, it dawns on him that the Venom Arts were adopted from the wuxia webtoon that he loved. This is a webtoon that has an attractive heroine. Also, the poison and hidden weapons martial art is the Four Heavenly Venom Arts. At this point, Uran realizes that this world is a mashup of everything that he knows before. Just then, it dawns on him that he might have a chance if he actually learns the Four Heavenly Venom Arts. Uran smiles, believing that he has found a ticket to his survival. Apparently, there is a prestigious sect from the Sichuan province, and they appear in the Chinese wuxia novels. They are a clan that specializes in poisons and silent assassinations with toxin-laced hidden weapons. Uran is left to wonder why the Sichuan Tang Clan is in this world, since the world is supposed to be a medieval fantasy world. Later on, Wielding learns from Aaron that Uran has gotten to his feet. He asks her how Uran is feeling, and she reveals that he doesn't appear to be good yet, since he stumbled when he tried to stand. Aaron says Uran's body is still in poor condition. Wielding also adds that the priest said his injuries are healed, which he finds pretty strange. Wielding asks Aaron if she thinks anything is strange with Uran's behavior since he is usually stubborn, but he easily agreed to apologize to Ilya when he suggested it earlier. Wielding doesn't want to believe that Uran has had a sudden personality change. Wielding is confident that by the next day, Uran will be back to his normal self, who is always causing trouble. However, Aaron thinks otherwise. She has faith in the fact that Uran will come around one day. Wielding is shocked to hear this from Aaron. He is surprised that Aaron still has some faith in Uran when he, who is his father, has already given up on him. Wielding tells Aaron that she is basically putting her hope on something that might never come true. Wielding starts to regret his action of not allowing Aaron to just live her life as a knight, instead of assigning her to Uran. Even with everything that Wielding is saying, Aaron still believes in her heart that Uran is different. She cannot explain the feeling, but she just knows it. The next day, Aaron is shocked when she hears Uran asking for the training hall because he would like to exercise his body. Aaron cannot believe her ears as Uran demands that she lead him to the drill hall. Uran notices Aaron's reaction, and he asks her if there is any problem with this. Uran has already figured out that the Creator's Eye allows him to see stats, but as for the Sichuan Tang Clan, he still doesn't know how to unlock it. Uran assumes that his obesity might be getting in the way of that. Because of this, he wants to exercise his body until he figures out a way around it. As he and Aaron walk through the mansion, Uran is impressed by how big the garden is, and he compares it to several stadiums combined. After walking for a few minutes, Uran is already feeling the heat. He thinks of working out in his room, but he knows that he will always give up and just sleep since there is a bed that will be staring at him in the face. Uran is wise enough to know that he cannot work out in his room. They walk past a bunch of workers and maids. Thanks to the Eye of the Creator, he is able to see what they think about him. Every servant that he has come across either dislikes him or hates him extremely. Uran doesn't blame any of them for this since Uran was a piece of crap who trashed everyone in the mansion. Soon afterward, they arrive at the 3rd training hall. Uran is already out of breath by the time they get there. Aaron lets him know that the knights make use of the 2nd and 1st training hall, which is why the 3rd training hall is free. Upon entering the training hall, they realize that there is someone undergoing a training session there. He checks the dude's affinity and realizes that he is the worst he has come across so far. The dude doesn't just dislike him, but he hates him and wants to kill him. The dude is Reincarnated, and the moment he sees Uran, he starts walking toward him to greet him. He acts all cool since Aaron is there, but deep down, Uran knows that the dude cannot wait to take his head off his neck. Rekka asks Uran why he has come to the training yard, but Uran freaks out calling the guy's name. Rekka smiles, telling Uran that he didn't know he still remembers him. Uran doesn't really remember Rekka, and he calls Aaron aside to ask her if something happened between him and Rekka. Aaron is surprised that Uran doesn't remember what he did. Apparently, some years ago, Uran's father forced him to train. Uran was mad because of this, and he called Rekka over. Rekka was still a trainee back then. Uran does his usual villainy crap and puts a scar on Rekka's face while laughing like a maniac. After Uran did this, his father practically gave up on training him. After hearing this, Uran realizes that his old self is a really trashy dude. Uran is not ready to sit around and see what Rekka is going to do to him. He suggests that they run out of there. He asks Eren if there is another training hall that he can use alone. Eren reveals that there is a fourth hall, but it is very far away, and the equipment is poor. Eren says it is mostly an empty field, but Uran declares that this is exactly what he wants. Since he wants to lose weight, he wants to do it the proper way. Realizing that she can't change his mind, she has no choice but to take him to the fourth training hall. They arrive at the training yard, and Uran is surprised when he finds throwing knives on the table. Uran remembers that the Sichuan Tang Clan specializes in throwing knives and small weapons. He picks up one of the knives, hoping that he can do something good with it. Uran skillfully picks it up and uses all of his might to throw the knife. However, the knife doesn't reach the target before falling off. Uran is embarrassed by this, and he turns around to look at Eren, telling her that he just threw the knife for fun and didn't mean anything serious with it. Uran realizes that the first thing he needs to work on is his stamina. He decides that running around the training yard should help with this. Eren just stands there, staring at him as he tries to make up for the embarrassing moment he put himself in. Uran starts running around the yard, telling Eren that she is free to train whichever way she wants. However, Uran almost passes out after a few laps on the training ground. Later on, his father learns that he has started training, and this shocks him. However, he doesn't think it is going to last that long. Surprisingly, Uran is still training after 3 weeks. Wielding cannot believe that his son has not skipped a day's training since he started. In just 3 weeks of constant training, Uran has lost a lot of weight, and his appearance has changed so much. Wielding is now proud, and he finally starts to address Uran as his son. Wielding realizes that without the body fat, Uran is pretty handsome. Wielding wonders if his son has truly changed in his ways. Even Uran stands in front of the mirror in his room to admire himself. He realizes that he has lost a lot of weight, but even with this, the Sichuan Tang Clan trait still refuses to unlock. He decides that he will give it a month, and if it doesn't unlock by then, he will proceed to steal everything meant for the protagonist. Momentarily, Eren enters the room with Uran's food. The meal is basically called Chirin soup, but unlike its name, it is pretty useful. It is a nutritious stamina dish that is excellent for burning fat and building muscle. In the Rox family, it is natural for them to eat it after every training session. Uran cannot believe that he has to eat Chirin soup again. Eren asks him if he is tired of the soup already, and he says yes. He mentions that he has been eating the soup for 3 weeks straight without eating anything else. Eren stares him right in the face and with a stern and scary look. She asks him what it is that he truly wants. She wants to know if it is his desire to become a knight or just to lose weight. Uran declares that he would like to become a knight, and Eren tells him that he has no choice but to eat the Chirin soup because even the head of the house still eats it after he is done training. Eren tells Uran to stop complaining and just eat the soup. Uran has no choice but to agree to it after Eren's lecture. Eren might not be comfortable with the soup, but he knows that it has helped him over the 3-week course. Uran decides to just keep eating the soup until he finally gets tired. He takes a spoonful from the plate, and just as he chews it, he notices something strange. He figures out that the soup tastes very different from the other days. However, he continues eating until the status window suddenly opens, telling Uran that he has ingested poison. Uran is shocked to see this, but it turns out to be a blessing because this satisfies the condition to unlock the Sichuan Tang Clan. Uran looks up and smiles since he knows that it is the start of his great journey. Wielding stands at his window as usual to admire his great son. Just then, someone knocks on the door, and the man orders them to come in. It turns out to be his second wife, Kaina, and she has brought tea for them. She noticed that her husband was staring at something and asked him what he was staring at, and he lied that he was looking at the beautiful garden. Kaina then uses the opportunity to praise herself, saying she has been specially taking care of the garden. The Marquis plays along, telling Kaina that her skills are impressive. Just then, Kaina resorts to her female instincts as she walks up to the Marquis to hug him from behind. She hugs him, asking him when he plans to choose her son, Colin, as his heir, just like he has previously mentioned. Kaina suggests that the Marquis do this pretty quickly since he has already decided. The Marquis then shocks her, telling her that it might take more time than he actually thought. Kaina gets more serious, reminding the Marquis that he promised to name Colin his heir within the month. Wielding admits that he said this, but tells Kaina that she must have heard about the fact that Uran has suddenly come to his senses. Since Uran is the eldest son, Wielding believes that Uran can turn out to be a good successor. Kaina puts on a fake smile, telling her husband that she has also heard about Uran's sudden change. She says she is happy that the boy has finally come to his senses. Wielding starts laughing, telling Kaina that he doesn't believe that he was called back to his senses by a beating from his wife. Kaina then returns to the topic of the successor, asking him what he plans to do about it. Wielding says Uran has only been training for 3 weeks, and he would like to watch him a bit longer before making his decision. However, he promises Kaina that he will immediately hand over the position of heir to Colin if Uran goes back to his old ways. After hearing this, Kaina turns around to leave, telling her husband that she will be waiting for him in the bedroom. She steps out of the room and almost bites the dust with how pissed she is, and she swears to show Uran what she is capable of. Now in the present, it finally dawns on Uran that the condition to unlock the access to the Sichuan Tang is to ingest poison, and he has just done so. He then stares at the status window to know what has been placed inside the soup given to him. Apparently, the soup has a special herb in it, and this causes paralysis. It is a medicinal herb, but it carries a bit of toxin in it. The herb is harmless to adults in small quantities, but consistent consumption of this leads to paralysis and later kills the target. Uran is staring at the status screen when Eren enters the room, asking him if he is no longer interested in the food. Uran apologizes and starts consuming the soup hurriedly. However, he is left with the question of who could have put the poison in the food. He is assured that he can't be killed with poison, but he knows that something has changed in the storyline. Just then, it dawns on him that Colin has not been named heir yet, which was something that happened around this time in the story. He wonders if the naming of an heir got delayed because he started training, and the person who put the poison in the food doesn't like him, and most likely from Colin's camp. After he's done eating, the system informs him that weak paralysis poison has been unlocked for him. Uran turns to Eren, telling her that he has finished the meal and it is so good that it brought him to tears. He tells her that he wants some time alone, and without argument, Eren excuses herself from the room, urging Uran to take a rest. After Eren is gone, Uran stands in front of the mirror and demands that the Sichuan Tang Clan appear to him. Just then, Uran's stats appear right in front of him. He has gained some skills, which include mild poisoning, but his overweight status still remains. In addition, his sync rate has dropped to 97%. Uran then focuses on more of the traits, and he realizes that there are a bunch of traits that are still locked. He still cannot access the most powerful techniques because they require other conditions to be met. Uran is blown away by the number of poisons that are available to him, and the last level on the panel is level 30. To get to level 30, he needs to unlock the levels above it. However, he needs an inner technique to unlock the basic one. Uran realizes that the Tang Clan actually uses internal energy to wield poison. He then checks the martial arts section, where he realizes that he can choose one of 4 available techniques. There are the Dark Poison Arts, Thunder Needle Arts, 10,000 Venoms, and Divine Energy. Uran immediately knows the right choice for him since he is a big fan of the Tang Clan story. The Dark Poison Arts focus on poison, while the Thunder Needle Arts focus on hidden weapons. For the 10,000 Venom Divine Energy, it takes longer to master, but it allows the wielder to reach mastery in both poison and hidden weapons. Without thinking twice, he picks the 10,000 Venom's Divine Energy. The moment he makes his choice, he feels a strange energy circulating through his body, and he realizes that he needs to immediately circulate the energy. He pulls off his shirt and starts to meditate, and with this, he feels a strange flow all through his body. He comes to the realization that the energy he is feeling is chi. He starts guiding it through the proper meridians so he can store it in the dantian to build internal strength. Uran remains in this position overnight without realizing it. Even though he didn't sleep, he doesn't feel tired. His body has also changed without him realizing it. Uran has been able to concentrate the chi so that he now feels it everywhere. He can even tell the number of birds outside his window without even turning to see them. Uran checks out his 10,000 Venom's Divine Energy and finds out that he is currently at the 1-star level, which grants him 10% of the total power. Suddenly, a familiar aura approaches his door, and when the person opens up, it turns out to be Aaron. Aaron enters the room to find Uran on his bed, meditating. She is surprised when she realizes that Uran didn't sleep overnight, telling him that it is quite dangerous. She suggests that Uran rest for the day, but Uran refuses, telling Aaron that he is going to training. Uran assures Aaron that he feels great and he is in top condition, so he has to train. Aaron then steps outside so she can prepare breakfast, but she notices that Uran is getting bulked up. When he arrives at the training yard, Uran picks up one of the throwing knives. He stands in front of the target, and to his surprise, a crosshair appears right in front of his eyes, just like a first-person shooter game. With this, he is able to precisely aim at the target, and he throws the knife with all of his strength while Aaron watches him. The knife hits the target with ultimate precision, shocking Aaron. By doing this, Uran unlocks the Tang Clan's hidden weapons. Aaron cannot hold it in as she walks up to Uran, asking him what he just did. Uran plays dumb, telling Aaron that he also has no idea what happened. He believes that it is as the results of the past month's training are starting to show. Aaron debunks this, since she doesn't believe it is so. Uran realizes that this will be the first time he will see Aaron totally flustered, and he suggests that he try throwing the knife one more time. Uran can feel the fiery inner energy surging from his body when he throws something. With this, he takes an even better pose and he throws the knife faster and stronger. The knife hits the target right in the middle and cracks it, leaving Aaron totally stunned. Aaron stares Uran right in the face, pointing out the fact that he just shattered the target board. Uran just smiles. But he knows having the crosshair appear in his eyes is basically a cheat code for him. Apparently, Uran once loved an FPS game called Battle Attack, and he even came first in the cafe tournament held for the game. Aaron screams at Uran, asking him what he just did. Uran ignores the question and asks Aaron if she can feel anything from him. Aaron thinks it through before answering, telling him that he has lost quite a bit of weight since the day before. When she mentions the weight aspect, Uran is shocked. Aaron then points out that Uran has been training every day and eating the soup, which has made him lose a lot of weight. However, he looks totally different overnight. Uran is surprised to hear this, but most importantly, he is relieved that Aaron can't sense the inner energy flowing through his body. This basically tells him that he is the only one who can use inner energy in this world, and no one else can detect it. With this, Uran is confident that he has gained incredible power, and he decides to keep practicing. He picks up the knives and starts throwing them to hit the target with precision. Aaron is shocked to see this, and she finally steps up, asking to try throwing the knives too. She picks up a knife, strikes her pose, and throws it. But to her surprise, the knife bounces off the target instead. Uran laughs, saying he is glad that there is something Aaron can't do. Uran then takes another glance at the status window, where he sees that he has unlocked the straight cut. This allows him to throw faster and stronger, and not only with memory objects. Basically, he can pick up anything and throw it with ultimate precision, just like he is doing with the knives. Uran is surprised to see this, and he decides to try it out without delay. Aaron is still busy beating herself up when Uran urges her to step aside. Aaron is shocked when she sees Uran holding a broken wooden sword. Uran stands in front of the target and he circulates energy through his body, and using the straight cut skill, he throws the damaged wooden sword. To Aaron's greatest surprise, the wooden sword shatters the target. Aaron screams in horror, and she asks Uran what sort of power he has running through his veins. Uran awkwardly replies that it is the power of practice, but Aaron is not a fool, and she knows that it is quite impossible. Uran then begs Aaron for a favor. He is aware that she reports his every move to his father, but he begs her not to tell his father about this in the meantime. Aaron wants to argue this, but Uran points out the fact that he is currently testing out several things, and he promises to explain everything to her later. All he just wants is for her to give him some time to put things in order. Aaron has no choice but to agree to this. Later that day, Uran follows one of the workers, Peru. Using the creator's eye, he figures out that the dude uses poison, but his affinity toward him is neutral. Uran immediately figures out that Peru is the person he is looking for, as he is the only one who can easily slip poison into his food without anyone realizing it. Using the arrow floating in his hand, Uran is able to target Peru, and he hits him with a paralytic poison that leaves a green trail. Peru gets hit before he even knows what is happening. He crashes to the ground and passes out while Uran is proud of himself. Thanks to the status window, Uran can see that the effect of the paralytic poison will last for an hour. Uran grabs the unconscious dude and takes him to a quiet warehouse. When the dude finally wakes up, he sees Uran standing in front of him, and he looks really menacing. Uran smiles evilly, and Peru already knows what is coming for him. Uran then urges Peru to answer his questions honestly if he wants to live to see another day. He asks him if he is the one who put poison in his soup. Uran tells Peru to blink once if the answer is correct, but if it is wrong, he should blink twice. He asks him again if he is the one who poisoned him, and he blinked once. He then follows through by asking if the poison was Hanyang herb, and Peru blinked once again. Uran is glad that Peru is cooperating with him, and he proceeds to the next question, where he asks Peru if Kaina was the one who asked him to carry out the poisoning. Peru blinked twice, saying it wasn't Kaina. Uran gets mad, and he whips out a knife, telling Peru to think again, since it would be best if he didn't lie to him. Uran lets him know that he has a way of seeing and knowing things. He assures him that he's going to cut his throat if he lies to him. Uran then asks the question again, and surprisingly Peru maintains his answer, saying the order didn't come from Kaina. Uran figures out that Peru is not lying, but he is left to wonder just who might have ordered him to be poisoned. Uran decides to find that out later, and he whips out a pill, telling Peru to swallow it. He lets him know that it is a paralytic poison, and he pushes the pill into his mouth. After Peru has swallowed it, Uran lets him know that he now has just 1 month to live. Uran assures Peru that all of his internal organs will melt away if he doesn't take the antidote within the space of 1 month. Since Peru doesn't want to die, Uran tells him that he will have to start following his orders. Peru trembles in fear, realizing that he has put himself in a compromising position. Uran then places his hand on Peru's head and uses his power to release the paralytic poison. With this, Peru can finally move and speak. Uran then asks the question again, demanding to know who ordered Peru to poison him. Peru finally reveals the truth, saying it was Knight Captain Karox Livingtane. Uran is shocked to hear this, and Peru reveals that Karox is planning to kill Uran by illness within the year. It turns out that Karox is Kaina's older brother, and he got the role of Knight Captain, thanks to her marriage to the Marquis. Uran is relieved that he is not totally wrong since Karox is Kaina's brother, which makes them accomplices. Uran then hands Peru a piece of paper, and written on the paper is a list of poisons. Since Peru is very knowledgeable in poisons, Uran believes that he can help procure them from the black market. Uran tells Peru to get the money he needs from Karox and gather every single poison on the list. Uran wants Peru to bring the poisons to him, and he orders him to start with the one he already has with him. Peru is shocked, and he asks Uran why he needs poisons. But Uran coldly replies, telling Peru that he never gave him permission to ask questions. Peru quickly apologizes, and Uran tells him that he is free to leave. Before leaving the room, Uran tells Peru that he wants a load of poison in his food from that moment forward. Peru hears this, leaving him in total disbelief. When Uran gets to his room, he starts celebrating because he managed to trick Peru into believing that there is actually poison in his system. What Uran fed him was just dried leaves that he lumped together. Uran then realizes that it is imperative that he learns the Sichuan Tang Clan martial arts. Apparently something terrible will happen very soon, and he needs to be ready. The following night, Peru visits Uran to show him the poisonous herbs he has with him. He places them on a table, and Uran takes a good look at them. The first one is the Hanyang herb. The second one is Yakrupka. The leaf among them is called the wooden vein leaf. Peru is shocked that Uran knows all the poisons like they were nothing. Unknown to Peru, Uran can see their names via the status window. Uran asks Peru why he has the other poisons with him when he could have easily killed him with the Hanyang herb alone. Peru reveals that Hanyang herb takes a long time, and once resistance is developed, it actually lasts longer. However, mixing Yakrupka after Hanyang herb symptoms begin will increase the effects. Basically, poisons become more deadly when combined. Uran then asks Peru how he learned all about poisons, and he reveals that he was sold to the Livingtane family when he was 8, and he trained under a poison master there. Uran asks him if there are others like Peru and Livingtane. He replies that they were initially 20 kids, but they all died, leaving him as the sole survivor. Uran is not surprised by this because kids with low affinity for poison will die when they are exposed to toxins, but he notices that Peru hates the Livingtane family. He plans to use this to his advantage. After their discussion, Uran commends Peru for a job well done, and he lets him know that he is free to go for the day. After Peru's departure, Uran gets down to the consumption of the poisonous herbs. As he eats them, he gets the notifications from the status screen, but he soon reaches his limit, and the system urges him to engage in a breathing meditation. Uran does as the system suggests, and he manages to get the pain under control while meditating. The next morning, Aaron enters the room to find Uran in a state of meditation, but his body is now streamlined like a perfect bodybuilder. Aaron is shocked by what she is staring at, but on the other hand, Uran has managed to upgrade the 10,000 Venom's energy to stage 2. He acquires a bunch of martial arts techniques and poison techniques in the process too. Aaron is about to start talking about Uran's body when she perceives something rotten in the room. Uran doesn't know what to tell Aaron since he knows the reason behind the unpleasant smell. Apparently, when one's inner energy rises and their martial arts level up, the body releases a bulk load of waste at once. Since the room is stinking and the odor is obviously coming from him, Uran offers to open the window, but Aaron screams at him not to open the door. She tells Uran to head to the bathroom instead. After he is done bathing, Uran and Aaron head out. Uran is pleased with himself as he has been able to acquire a new skill, the So-ryong footwork. It is from the Tang family, and it is a perfect technique for fast movement, assassination, and evasion. Uran is glad that he is learning skills that only show up in wuxia novels. Uran is so glad that he is carried away while they walk on the road until Aaron snaps him back to reality. Aaron asks him why he is walking like a drunk all of a sudden. She wants to know if his body is not feeling well, but Uran quickly assures Aaron that he is fine. With this, the two continue moving, but Uran can't stop practicing his new move as he walks on the road like a drunk. Aaron then asks him if he is truly going to the first training hall to undergo training for the day. Aaron reminds Uran that there are a bunch of knights in the training hall, but Uran assures Aaron that she has nothing to worry about. Uran claims that he is only going there to see how the other knights go about their daily training sessions. Moments later, they arrive at the training hall, and just as expected, there are knights practicing their sword skills while screaming like maniacs. They are shocked when Uran and Aaron enter the training ground. Initially, they don't recognize the handsome dude who is behind Aaron, since he has changed a whole lot. It finally dawns on them that the person they are looking at is Uran, the Lord's son. They can't believe how much weight Uran has lost during training. The knights believe that Uran used some kind of sorcery to reduce his weight. While they are whispering, Uran can clearly hear all of them thanks to his inner energy. Aaron then points to a huge dude in front of them. She lets Uran know that he is a trainee knight, but because of his good form, he will soon become a junior knight. Uran takes a closer look and soon realizes that the dude is Kryde. He is part of the main character in the novel, and he later becomes an ally to the protagonist. Uran didn't know about Kryde's life before he met the hero. Uran is pleased with the fact that Kryde is in the mansion because it might turn out to be a good thing for him later on. However, he is focusing on something else for the day. All the knights in the training hall hate his guts, and most of them just want to kill Uran. Uran stares at them, wondering if they are going to be his test subjects. Uran picks up a sword and decides to start with a poison named Prolonged Poison. It is still at level 1, and once ingested, it spreads to all the organs in moments. He activates the poison and remotely hits one of the knights with it. The knight crashes to the ground with his friends, asking him if he is okay. They ask him if he needs to use the toilet, but he says no while rolling on the floor in pain. The knights realize how terrible the situation is and immediately suggest that they call for a priest. Suddenly, the knight gets back on his feet saying that the pain is gone. The others are shocked by this and they wonder if the dude was just messing with them. The dude tries to let them know that he was not faking it and he was truly in pain, but none of them believe him. Uran has seen how this works and he decides to try out the soul-killing smoke. This is a smoke that creates illusions, causing fear and confusion within a set range. The knights are still scolding their counterparts for faking his pain when Uran hits them with the soul-killing smoke. Immediately, everyone in the range of the effect starts to freak out. Apparently, a scary monster is standing in front of them, ready to devour them. They fall to the ground, pissing their pants while Uran laughs in the distance. Aaron, on the other hand, is confused as to what is happening. The situation becomes even worse for the affected knights as several monsters appear before them, tormenting them. When Uran has had his fill of pleasure, he takes off the illusion since he doesn't want to wait for the knights to start attacking each other. An argument ensues between them as they claim they all look like monsters. Uran decides that he is done with the day's experiment, but he is pleased with the way things went. Uran then tells Aaron that it is time for them to go back. Aaron is shocked since they have not done anything meaningful since they arrived. Uran claims that the training hall is noisy, and he suggests that they go to the 4th training hall instead. Moments later, one of the maids showed up to inform the two that a guest had just arrived at the mansion. Uran wonders who the guest is, and he soon learns that his fiancée, Ilya Marcus, has come to see him. While waiting for Uran, Ilya already has plans to cancel their engagement together. When Uran enters the room where she is waiting, Ilya's face turns red, and everything she has planned to do before seeing Uran starts flying out of her head and they are replaced with questions. Before entering the room to see Ilya, Uran had analyzed the situation. He knows that Ilya is good with her fists, and it was around this time in the story that Ilya demanded that they go their separate ways. However, the novel Uran kept refusing to let go. However, this time around, Ilya is shocked when she sees Uran. She starts asking him who he is. Uran is surprised by the question, and he lets Ilya know that it is none other than him. Ilya still doesn't want to believe as she starts freaking out, while Uran just calms her down, telling her that it's been a while. Ilya admits that she actually heard that Uran lost weight, but she assumed that it was a false rumor. Ilya says it hasn't been 2 months since she left, and she starts wondering how Uran is able to change that much in a short space of time. Uran then reveals that he was able to change that much because he trained really hard. This shocks Ilya, and Uran continues, revealing that after he got whooped by her, he started rethinking his life decisions, and because of this, he decided to change. Ilya asks him if he is trying to get revenge, but Uran says no. Just then, Uran does something surprising. He gets on his 2 knees and bows to Ilya, thanking her. This shocks the lady, who can't get to see her man on his knees. Uran reveals that he was able to change his ways, which is all thanks to Ilya. Uran lets Ilya know that he is truly sorry for what happened between them, but assures her that he will understand if she wants to break off the engagement. Ilya is dumbfounded when she sees this, leaving her to start questioning Uran's identity. Uran shocks Ilya again by admitting that he was a piece of trash. Uran knows that everything that happened is not his fault, but the idiot who was the former inhabitant of the body. However, the reason Uran is so passionate about asking for forgiveness is that Ilya is not just a simple heroine, but her Sword Queen trait, with her own trait, makes her get stronger and stronger over time. Later on in the story, she was able to save the fallen hero and even cut down the main villain. This was made possible thanks to her Sword Queen trait. Uran doesn't care if they break off the engagement, as long as he is able to repair the relationship and make Ilya his ally. Just then, Ilya asks Uran if he is serious about what he said, and he says yes. However, this is not enough for Ilya as she demands that Uran swear by what he said. Ilya unleashes her aura, making her appear very dangerous while making the request. Uran cannot believe that Ilya will suffocate him with her scary aura, but it seems that he has seen the scene somewhere else before. Ilya then tells Uran to swear that he will not go back to his old ways, and if he breaks the oath, Ilya will be the one to beat him to death. Hearing this, Uran is shocked since this is the same line that Ilya said to the protagonist, not Uran. Uran then decides to show Ilya that he is not messing around. He activates the 10,000 poisons, and the energy from his body consumes Ilya's aura. Uran then tells Ilya that he swears not to go back to his old ways. Ilya's face turns red from excessive blushing, but she manages to keep it in, and she tells Uran that she will be watching him. She lets him know that one more mistake from him means the engagement is off. Uran is shocked that Ilya is not breaking off the engagement. When Ilya meets with Willington in his chambers, the man is also shocked, just like Uran when he learns that Ilya will not be breaking off the engagement. The Marquise is forced to ask Ilya why she is not breaking off the engagement. Ilya then mentions that her father has always told her that people can't be fixed, and when she heard the rumor that Uran had changed, she was curious. She wondered if he had gone back to the weak and kind Uran that he was when he was a kid. But to her greatest surprise, Uran was a completely different person. Because of this, Ilya is taking the risk to trust Uran one more time. However, Ilya lets the Marquis know that she will beat Uran to death if he ever goes back to his old ways. The Marquis is relieved to hear this, and he urges Ilya to take good care of Uran. Ilya stands up to leave, and the Marquis urges her to stay a few days, but she refuses, revealing that she already told her father that she is coming to break off the engagement. The Marquis then suggests that she should at least see Uran train before she goes, but she refuses again, saying she doesn't want to distract him. Later that day, the Marquis calls Uran to his room. He teases him when he enters the room, asking him who he is. Before Uran can start freaking out, the Marquis quickly reveals that he is only pulling his legs. Wielding pats his son on the shoulders to commend him for how hard he has been working. Wielding asks Uran if he knows why he called him, and he tells his father that it must be about his nightly training. His father is glad that he has gotten wise too. The Marquis believes that it is time Uran learns the swordsmanship of the Rox family. Just then, Uran tells the Marquis that he has something important to inform him concerning the issue of knight training. Instead of training to become a knight, Uran shocks his father, saying he wants to learn throwing arts instead of swordsmanship. His father immediately gets furious, saying he cannot allow this since it is a cheap technique used by thieves. The Marquis claims that with a throwing technique, he won't be able to cut through a knight's armor, not to mention the bodies of scary monsters. Uran immediately puts up a suggestion, telling his father that they should make a bet. He wants them to make a bet on whether he can catch the beast Borak with a dagger or not. The Marquis hears this and believes that Uran is just being stubborn. He tells him that a warrior's blade needs to be infused with aura to be able to break through the scales of a Borak. The Marquis believes that even if Uran trains for 100 years, his throwing knives will not be able to break through the Borak's scales. Since this is Wellington's belief, Uran urges him to make the bet. The Marquis decides to indulge Uran on the bet, and Wellington asks him what he plans to wager. Uran tells the Marquis that if he manages to defeat the Borak with his dagger, he will be the one to handle his training. But if he fails, he will follow his father's will. With this, the two make their bet. Uran returns to his room with relief because he realizes that Aaron hasn't told his father about his training yet. Since the practical test is the next day, Uran wonders how many tries it will take him to break the Borak's scales. To prepare for the test, Uran decides that he needs to eat some poisoned herbs just in case. He plans to raise the divine arts to the 3rd star. Just then, Aaron enters the room with a message from the Marquis. Apparently, the Marquis has picked the time and venue. The test will be held at noon the next day, and they will use the first training hall. Uran then asks her if she knows the details of the bet, and she says yes. However, she is not the only one who knows it. The entire estate is aware of the bet that they made. Because of this, the entire estate is laughing because they are pretty sure Uran will pee his pants when he faces the Borak. Aaron reveals that everyone is having fun chatting about how he is going to fail since he is the #1 public enemy. This gets to Uran, and he asks Aaron if everyone is coming to watch the test. Aaron replies that the Marquis allowed it, so the training hall will be packed with people. Uran sighs when he hears this, but then he asks Aaron for her thoughts. Aaron bows her head while saying she believes that the following day will be Uran's day. That night, Uran did as promised, and he increased the divine arts to the 3rd star. The next day, Uran is shocked when he realizes that the training hall is packed with people as if they are there to watch an arena match. Before the exam begins, Uran assures his father that he is ready, but he points out the fact that the entire area is packed with people. His father reveals that it was his intention to tell only his magician, but for some reason, the news spread everywhere. The Marquis then urges Uran to do well not to embarrass himself. Once everything is in order, the magician begins the summoning ritual to call forth the Borak. The summoning is successful, and a monster appears from the smoke. Uran is excited to physically see a monster that he, as the author, created with words. Apparently, Borak is an ocean monster with a height of 150 centimeters. Immediately, the monster emerges from the summoning circle, and the spectators start to panic. Uran is shocked to see what the Borak looked like since it is a monster that he came up with when he was eating a rockfish sashimi at a restaurant and couldn't think of monster ideas. Uran doesn't show any sign of fear in front of the Borak since he can only see a cute monster if only its arms were taken away. Suddenly, the monster comes charging at Uran. It almost catches Uran while he is zoned out, but thanks to his slick movement, he is able to dodge the attack. Since the monster is charging at him without warning, Uran decides to get serious. He whips out one of his throwing knives to test how strong the Borak scales are. Surprisingly, a target appears in front of him, pointing to a particular area on the monster's body, and Uran assumes that it is the monster's weak point. He decides to try out this hypothesis, and he throws the knife in the direction of the target. The knife penetrates the target, causing the monster to scream in pain before crashing to the ground, dead. Uran is disappointed that the Borak died with just one hit. The Marquis and the spectators are left in awe when they see this happen. The entire hall soon roars in celebration of Uran defeating the Borak. The magician steps into the training hall to officially announce that Uran has defeated the Borak. The Marquis leaves his seat and rushes over to Uran to ask him how he managed to take down the Borak in just a hit. Uran awkwardly replies that he only aimed well and he managed to hit the mark. The Marquis doesn't want to accept the result since the Borak died from a single dagger strike. He argues that it doesn't make sense, and Uran quickly cuts in, asking if the Marquis is trying to go back on his word. Just then, the magician tells the Marquis that Uran targeted the Borak's arm, where there are no scales. Upon hearing this, the Marquis screams at Uran, telling him that he was able to defeat the monster out of sheer luck. Uran doesn't want to argue with his father, as he tells him that he won the bet, even if it was a lucky throw or not. Uran turns to walk away, but his father tells him to do the test one more time. Uran doesn't want to agree until the Marquis increases the stakes. He tells Uran that he will grant him one wish if he manages to win the second round. Uran is excited to hear that he gets to have a wish. However, the Marquis switches things up, saying his opponent will not be the Borak but a knight. Uran's father asks him if he is okay with the new rules, and he says yes. Uran doesn't really care who his opponent is because this might actually be his chance, since he might be going up against Rox. However, he decides to let things be since he still needs Rox to supply Peru with money to get the poison that he needs. The Marquis then suggests that they start with a trainee knight. Uran asks his father if he can choose his opponent, and he gives him the go-ahead to do so. Without hesitation, Uran chooses Kryde as his opponent. Moments later, Kryde comes rushing to the arena from where he is. He bows to the Marquis, who tells him that he has a task for him. Kryde assures the Marquis that he will follow whatever instructions he lays out. Just then, Wellington points to his son and he tells Kryde to teach the brat a proper lesson. Kryde is shocked when he hears this, and the Marquis notices this. He immediately asks him if he can't do it, but Kryde tells the Marquis that he is up to the task. Suddenly, Uran says something outrageous. He tells Kryde that he is going to throw only 3 daggers at him, and if he manages to block all 3, he wins the match. The Marquis is shocked to hear this, and he tells Kryde to put his arrogant son in his place. Meanwhile, Cride's friends in the arena are teasing him, telling him that if he loses, there will be no dinner for him. One even tells him that he will have to do 100 laps around the training ground if he loses. Before the match starts, Uran hears a girl's voice among the spectators, telling him that he can do it. This is enough motivation for Uran as he whips out his dagger, ready to take on Cride. Just as they are about to start the match, several target areas appear on Cride's body, stunning Uran. Uran is worried that he might kill Cride the same way he killed the Borak, but he can't afford to do this. Uran then decides to try something else. He uses so much force to throw the dagger, and it hits Cride's blade, leaving a loud sound like that of a cannon, shocking everyone in the arena. The dagger falls off, and the Marquis picks it up, wondering how an ordinary dagger is able to produce that much force. Cride's sword has suffered a dent, and the force from the throw leaves him shaken. Uran subtly tells Cride that he is now warmed up, but he lets him know that the first throw is a warning. Uran lets him know that the next throw is going to pack a punch. Uran believes that Cride will not die from what he is about to do since he is a supporting lead character. Uran then throws his dagger once again, and as it spins toward Cride, he tries blocking it with his sword, but this leaves a loud bang and a cloud of smoke. This shocks everyone, including the Marquis. When the smoke clears, Cride is completely shaken, and his sword has shattered. Cride's sword falls from his hand, and the Marquis walks up to his son. He demands they go somewhere private to talk, but Uran reminds his father that the match is not over yet since he still has one dagger left. Wellington's eyes light up in fear, and he tells Uran not to take things too far. Uran then suggests that they hear from Cride himself. Uran walks up to Cride, telling him to raise his head, and he asks him if he would like it to end the way it is. Uran reminds Cride that he is a knight in training and he is not supposed to accept such a trash outcome. Since bringing things to a definite end is the way of the knight, Uran then asks Cride again if he is ready to give up. Cride stutters before demanding that they give him a new sword. Cride's aura swirls around him, while revealing his determination not to back down. Everyone, including the Marquis, is blown away that Cride is still a knight-to-be, but he has already awakened his aura. Apparently, this is what Uran wants from the start. Cride has a trait, the Berserker, which only manifests at a breaking point. Since Cride has improved his defense by awakening his aura and entering Berserker mode, Uran believes that it is time he tries out a higher-level technique. Cride urges Uran to throw his dagger, but the Marquis is surprised that Cride could manifest an aura that is so much that it can be compared to the talent of a high-ranking knight. He wonders what his son would do in this situation. Uran aims his dagger and throws it. However, this time around, the dagger spins as it approaches Cride. Cride is shocked as he is left in disarray, wondering why the dagger is slow, unlike the others. Cride gets mad, believing that Uran is messing with him. This time around, he decides to raise his sword to try and block the dagger, but before he can hit the dagger, it spins past his sword. Cride cannot recover from this, and he ends up getting hit in the shoulder. However, the dagger manages to slow down before it reaches Cride's shoulder bone. Even with this, Cride still feels immense pain as he falls to his knees, screaming in pain. Everyone is shocked to see this, leaving them to wonder what just happened. Since the dagger was very slow and Cride is screaming in pain, his fellow knights tell him to stop faking it. They assume that he is acting that way because he doesn't want to disgrace Uran. Unknown to them, Uran infused the last throw with more internal energy, which is why the pain is extreme. Just then, the Marquis calls Uran, telling him that they need to talk, but he lets him know that he has won the bet already. Uran walks up to Cride, and he places his hand on the site of the injury. Uran starts absorbing the internal energy lodged in his shoulder, and with this, the pain disappears, shocking Cride. Cride stands on his feet, and he bows to Uran, thanking him. Cride also apologizes for assuming that Uran was looking down on him because of the dagger's speed. Cride admits that the dagger throw is an impressive art, and he believes that Uran couldn't have learned it in such a short space of time, making him believe that Uran has been hiding his true strength all along. Cride then starts whispering, asking Uran if he was hiding his power because some secret faction is targeting the Marquis's house. When Uran hears this, he realizes why Cride is always by himself. Cride is the type of dude who actually likes conspiracy theories. Cride then bows to Uran, assuring him that he will be there to help when he wants to fight against the secret organization. Because of their short interaction with each other, Cride's favorability for Uran jumps to 26%. Uran is happy to hear this, and he assures Cride that he will be seeing him around. As Uran walks away, Cride screams, telling Uran that he is going to spread the news that he is a good guy. Uran, on the other hand, is glad that he is getting close to Cride because he will one day destroy the Night Order by himself. Aaron walks up to meet Uran, and she commends him for a job well done. She then mentions that she has not seen Uran use the last technique he used before. Uran quickly tells Aaron that it is a new technique, and he asks her what she thinks about it. Aaron admits that she also would have been defeated if she were facing the technique for the very first time. However, she is confident that she can now block it. Uran knows that this is not a bluff on Aaron's part. Apparently, Aaron has a trait called Clear Mirror that allows her to quickly adapt to situations and scenarios. Uran then asks Aaron if she is fine with the life she is currently living, because if she is not serving as his attendant, she can easily become a high-ranking knight. Aaron is surprised, and she demands to know why Uran is suddenly asking such a question. Later on, Uran meets the Marquis in his office. Wellington screams at his son to call him father whenever they are alone, because being so formal makes them feel distant. Uran awkwardly agrees, and he addresses the man as father. The Marquis then asks Uran about the technique that he used during the duel. He has been going through the archives and couldn't find anything related to the type of technique that Uran used. The man says Uran has only been training for a month, which makes it pretty impossible to learn such a skill in a short space of time. The Marquis demands that Uran tell him the truth, but Uran knows that he obviously can't tell him what the truth is. However, he had already prepared something just in case something like this came up. Uran then lies that he found a book when he was looking through the family's archives for effective training methods. He explains that a book on the top shelf suddenly fell on him. Apparently there was no writing on the cover of the book, but there was a strange pattern that was engraved on it. Uran says he didn't think much about the book, and when he opened it, a light appeared from it, shining on his face. In the process, something enters his head, and after this the book disappears. The Marquis is shocked to hear this and immediately tells Uran that he must have encountered a grimoire. Uran was expecting this since he was the one who created the concept. He put it down that a grimoire is a way to pass down techniques or magic by engraving them into a book through the power of a great mage. The Marquis doesn't doubt his son's words because the archive contains lots of books that have been collected by their ancestors, and even the Marquis doesn't know everything in the archives. The Marquis then tells Uran that fate must have bestowed upon him a great fortune, which is why he came across the book. The Marquis then tells Uran that he is going to keep to his promise, and he won't force him to learn swordsmanship. And for the other promise, which is a wish, the Marquis asks him what he wants. Just then, Uran demands something that shocks his father. He tells his father that he wants the position of the heir, leaving his father's jaw on the floor. Uran is surprised by his father's reaction, asking him if he cannot grant the wish if that is what he wants. His father reveals that it is actually within his authority to grant it. Uran mentions that his father's expression is pointing to something else, and he knows his father is hesitant because he knows it would cause him problems. There are many people within the Marquisate who would oppose the declaration, especially Kaina. Because he knows how troubled his father would be, he tells him that he will be yielding this time around. The Marquis is relieved to hear, and he thanks Uran. In reality, Uran is not even interested in the position of the successor because if he becomes the heir, he will have to spend the entire day with his father, so he can receive education on how to manage the Marquisate, which basically means his freedom is gone. Instead of this, Uran would rather improve his skills and travel the world on an adventure. His father then asks Uran for another wish since he has forfeited the last one. Uran lets his father know that he plans to create his own knight order. The Marquis is shocked to hear this, and Uran reveals that he plans to appoint Aaron and Kryde to the order as his knights. Since the request is not as difficult as the successor's position, the Marquis grants Uran's wish. Uran bows to his father, thanking him. The Marquis then asks Uran how he will go about getting a new butler because all of the current butlers have someone they are serving. Uran then reveals that he has someone in mind, and this person is Peru, who works in the kitchen. Uran wants the Marquis to make it seem like he was the one who appointed him, instead of making it seem like it was Uran's choice. The Marquis is surprised to hear this, and he asks Uran if there is something wrong, but Uran assures his father that he will explain to him later. The Marquis then decides not to ask further questions, as he seems to be trusting his son day by day. It turns out that his affinity has jumped up to 74%. Even Uran is shocked that the affinity has gone up, but he assumes that it is because he is the Marquis's son. Later on, Uran informs Aaron and Kryde that they are now part of his knight order, and he wants them to continue training diligently. In addition to this, he introduces the new butler, Peru, to them, assuring them that Peru will be attending to all of their needs. Earlier on, Uran and Aaron had talked about the new arrangement. Uran had come clean, telling Aaron that Peru is actually a spy, which is why he will be replacing Aaron as the butler. Uran reveals that Peru was sent to assassinate him by Kaina and Karox. Aaron was even more surprised to hear this, and she questioned Uran's decision to keep Peru close when he is after his life. Uran assured Aaron that she has nothing to worry about because Peru listens to only him. With this, Uran is able to get Aaron to agree to his plans. Back at the meeting, Kryde raises his hand to ask a question. After he has been given the permission to speak, Kryde asks why there is no vice captain, at least since they have decided to call themselves the Knight Order. However, the vice captain must be someone who possesses outstanding skills. Kryde believes that Aaron is not worthy to be in the Knight Order since she is small and frail. Before he can continue talking, Uran cuts in, agreeing with him that the vice captain needs to be strong. To settle this, Uran tells them that they will engage in a duel. Moments later, Kryde gets defeated by Aaron, shocking him. While lying down on the floor, defeated, Aaron gives him swordsmanship lessons. She lets him know that his attacks are too simple and can be easily read. Kryde doesn't take offense at this. Rather, he assures the lady that he will take the advice to heart. Since Aaron won, Uran says the captain's position has been decided. Peru is shocked when Uran makes Aaron the leader of the Knight Order. Everyone claps for Aaron, and not long after this, Peru prepares to leave so he can prepare dinner. Once he realizes that Peru is a bit far from where he is, Uran decides to try out a new technique that allows him to telepathically speak to his target. Uran calls Peru's name, shocking him. He turns around, but Uran continues calling him repeatedly. Peru almost loses his mind until Uran scolds him for acting weird. Peru then asks if Uran is communicating with him via black magic, but Uran explains that it is a simple communication magic. It starts to dawn on Peru that Uran is a special being since he is resistant to poison, and he can use some really weird techniques. Uran tells Peru that he is free to go with whatever theory he has in his head, but he asks him if the poison he requested is ready. Peru replies that the poison is ready. Apparently the poison is called snake mind, and it is a poison that is extracted from 100 vipers. Even though Peru is skilled, he barely managed to prepare the poison. Uran is glad that the poison is ready, and he tells Peru to add loads of it to the chirin soup that he is going to eat. Trembling in fear, Peru acknowledges his master's orders. Later that night, Uran realizes that since he reached the 3rd star, his progress has been somewhat slow since his internal energy has not been rising as quickly as he thought it would. Since he doesn't know when the world crisis will begin, Uran believes that it is time he leaves the Marquisate. Shortly afterward, Uran meets his father, telling him that he wants to leave for a while. His father asks him for the duration of time he will be gone, and since he doesn't want to create suspicions, he tells his father that he will be gone for a week. The Marquis has no problem with this since Uran has been diligently training, but he asks him how he plans to handle the escort. Uran shocks his father, telling him that he doesn't need an escort. The Marquis protests against this, reminding Uran of the important position that he holds in the family. Uran tries telling his father that there is no need for an escort since he is only going to neighboring villages, but the Marquis cuts him short. The Marquis reveals that the world has become a very dangerous place, and even though he has gotten a bit stronger, he is worried that his son might get poisoned. Uran realizes that it will be hard for him to convince the Marquis, and he decides to move to Plan B. Uran lets his father know that he is ready to comply, so he doesn't need to worry. The Marquis is happy to hear this, and he asks his son when he will be leaving. Uran replies that he will be leaving in 2 days. With this in mind, the Marquis says he will prepare an escort before then, but Uran has no intention of waiting around for some escort, since he is planning to sneak out the next day. Uran calls Peru to his chambers and reveals that he is going on a trip, but he doesn't have money, so he needs Peru to lend him some. Peru is hesitant, but when he feels the dark and scary aura coming from Uran's body, he quickly obliges. Uran then asks him if he still has his subspace pouch with him. Uran had earlier seen the pouch with him. Apparently, the subspace pouch is a common setting in fantasy novels, and it is a mysterious pouch that can take about a ton of cargo. Peru has no choice but to give his subspace pouch to Uran too. Because of this, Uran is happy that he won't have to carry a bag with him. Uran then hands Peru the lump of dried leaves that he is disguising as an antidote. He tells Peru that it is a month's worth of antidotes for the poison in his system. Uran plays his card very well, telling Peru that he has been a worthy servant. Because of this, he assures Peru that he is going to give him the permanent cure very soon. The next morning, Uran leaves a letter and then sneaks out. He thinks he won't run into anyone until he runs into an old gardener, who is emitting a heavy aura from his body. He notices something strange about the old man, but he continues on his journey nonetheless. Moments later, Uran arrives at the Tower of Magic. He walks into the building, and when the attendant asks him what he wants, he basically tells him that he would like to use a warp. The attendant asks him if he has used it before, and he says no. The attendant reveals that they provide mileage points, which is like those of airplanes. The attendant asks Uran where he is headed, and he replies that Asu Castle. Because of how far the location is, the attendant tells him that his fee is 50 gold. After he is given the price, he is told to pay and sign the ticket. Uran already expected that the fee would be expensive, but he is thankful that Peru has enough money to give him. Uran decides to write a fake name, and he goes with Polion, which is a name he uses in online games. After he is done with the registration, Uran is taken to the room where the warping machine is located. The attendant tells him that the moment he hears a knock, it means he has arrived at his destination. Uran steps onto the machine, and it gives off a lightning signal. Moments later, Uran arrives at his destination. He is welcomed by another attendant, who tells him that he has arrived at the Asu Castle. Uran is shocked, since he didn't feel a thing. The old man lets him know that this is how it is because the Tower of Magic has designed the warping machine to give off a warping sensation. Uran is surprised by the name they gave to the phenomenon. He realizes that he might have given it the name instead of the intended ride comfort. With this, the attendant wishes him well, and once Uran steps out of the Tower of Magic, Uran is now in the Asayo Castle, which is in the western region, unlike his homeland. The area looks completely different from the ones in his homeland, and there are lots of people in the region too. However, Uran is not concerned with that. As his major concern is the blacksmith alley, he asks one of the people he comes across and they describe it for him. Uran starts checking out the alleys, but couldn't find what he was looking for. It is already getting late, but he decides to check the last alley. He soon finds a blacksmith shop and he walks in. He asks the attendant if he knows of the person who goes by the name Unicorn Forge. The dude then tells Uran that there is no one with a name in the area, leaving Uran to start questioning himself. He believes that he misread it, but while he was thinking about this, the dude tells him that he is actually planning to name his shop that. When Uran hears this, he uses the creator's eye on the dude. He finds out that his name is Jirano, and he is a pretty good blacksmith. Uran grins like a kid when he sees this, as he realizes that he has finally found the right place. Uran then demands to see the weapons that he has made, and Jirano obliges. As they look through his creations, Uran asks Jirano how his business has been faring. Jirano claims his skills are not the best, which is why he is stuck in the back alley. In fact, whenever customers enter, they just take a look and leave. Because of poor sales, Jirano reveals that he doesn't know how much longer he can hold out. Uran then notices some swords hanging on the wall. One of the swords is a wind spirit sword, which has been imbued with the blessing of the wind spirit, Sylph. The sword increases attack speed, movement speed, and agility. The other sword is Flame Spirit Greatsword. It is a sword that has been imbued with the blessing of the lower fire spirit Salamander. The sword increases stamina, strength, and endurance. Uran then asks Jirano if he is the one who made the swords, and he says yes. However, he believes that after he finished making them, they turned out to be total failures. Apparently, the swords became so heavy that even someone strong can barely lift them, so no one ends up buying them. After he is done saying this, Uran knows that it is not Jirano's fault. The swords became heavy because unworthy humans touched them. Apparently, the sword will grant immense power to whoever is worthy. Since Uran knows this, he tells Jirano that he will be buying the swords, leaving Jirano totally shocked. Jirano thinks the swords are a failure, but Uran knows that both swords are perfect for Aaron and Cried. However, Uran is still after some other treasures. Suddenly, Uran asks the blacksmith if he has rusted weapons. Jirano has a bunch, and he brings them out. Jirano is surprised that Uran wants them since he already considered them a waste. Uran is glad that he met the bunch the same way he set it up. He dips his hand into the container and brings out a dagger, telling Jirano that he wants the dagger. Jirano is shocked since he wasn't the one who made the dagger. He only found it in the storage room and he has no idea how it got there in the first place. Jirano is shocked when Uran says he is going to be picking the dagger alongside the swords. Jirano concludes that Uran is only after defective stuff. Jirano tells Uran to give him just 2 gold coins, and he will give him the dagger for free. Uran is glad that he got a sweet deal, but he is the only one who knows how valuable the weapon is. Just then, he realizes that it is not only about the weapons, but about the blacksmith himself. Uran then offers him the chance to close down his shop and work for him instead, since he already said business is going so well for him. Jirano is shocked by the offer, and he reveals that it is coming too suddenly, which is why he doesn't know what to say. Jirano admits that he has thought about closing down, but he never thought he would get an offer like this. After he says this, Uran decides to introduce himself to the blacksmith. Uran introduces himself as the Invincible Spear, who is the protector of the South. After he is done with the title, he reveals his real name. Jirano is stunned when he realizes that he is standing in the presence of the Marquise's son. He immediately falls to his knees, apologizing to Uran while saying he never expected someone as noble as him to enter his trash shop. Uran urges the dude to stand up, but he refuses, and he demands that Uran say everything he wants to say, while his head remains on the ground. Realizing that he can't convince him, Uran decides to speak. After hearing everything Uran has to say, Jirano asks him why he would consider helping someone like him, and he replies that he is pretty talented. Jirano is surprised to hear Uran say he has talent because he doesn't see himself in the categories of talented blacksmiths, since he gets scolded by his master every day. Uran mentions that he has been going around checking other forges, but Jirano's shop stands out. Jirano asks him how his shop stood out from the rest, and Uran lets him know that sincerity is the key. Uran explains that he has seen the way he made his weapons and the extreme detailing about them. Because of this, Uran lets him know that he will one day wake up as a special talent. This is something that Uran made up on the spot, but he hopes that Jirano falls for it. Fortunately for him, he did. And Jirano reveals that he will follow him. Jirano then mentions that Uran is different from the rumors he has heard about him. Uran then decides that it is time he shows the blacksmith something interesting. Jirano watches as Uran pinches his finger with the dagger and orders it to awaken. It turns out that the dagger is the relic of myriad forms, Agnes. Jirano's jaw hits the floor when the dagger starts to levitate with a white aura surrounding it. The blacksmith starts wondering what is happening. Apparently, the weapon is a legendary ego sword, and it was the protagonist who was supposed to get it. The system asks Uran if he wants to form a contract with Agnes, and he says yes. Just then, the weapon transforms into a water molecule, and from inside, the voice of a girl comes out, demanding to know who is trying to form a contract with her. Agnes mocks Uran, telling him that he is pretty talentless. Uran soon realizes that Agnes is pissed because she can't sense mana from him. After she is done mocking him, she asks him how he knew she was there and how he also knew the spell to release her. Uran replies that he heard it from the Great Prophet. Uran was the one who shoved the prophet into the story for consistency. Even though Uran mentions this, Agnes believes that he is lying. She wants to know why the Great Prophet would waste their time on a talentless person like Uran. Agnes then asks Uran if he knows what she can do, and he says yes. This is an easy question since he is the one who wrote the settings. Uran explains that Agnes can split her body into the main body and the sub-body as two separate weapons. Each of these bodies can then transform into any weapon based on the wielder's imagination. During the main story, the hero fought using a sword and shield. And even though the sub-body was lost, it always finds its way back to the main body. After saying everything, Agnes suggests that Uran give up on trying to wield her since she can only be wielded through mana. Just then, Uran points a finger at Agnes, telling her that she is noisy. Suddenly, Agnes turns into a ring and wraps around Uran's finger. It turns out that Uran was able to commandeer Agnes because his martial arts substitute for his lack of mana. Uran then asks Jirano how much time he needs to pack up, and he says 2 days. Uran then tells him to meet him in front of the Asao castle in 2 days, at noon. Later on, Uran is walking through the streets when he suddenly runs into his fiancée. They are both shocked, and Ilya asks Uran why he is in the region. Uran almost enters the ground when he sees Ilya, as she is the last person he expects to find in the region. Uran realizes that the scene is somewhat familiar to how Ilya met the protagonist in the original story. It dawns on Uran that the main storyline has received a bit of a tweak. While he is still trying to figure out what is going on, Ilya asks him once again what he has come to do in the area. Uran chuckles nervously before revealing that he came to find a blacksmith. Ilya mentions that their family has loads of blacksmiths, and Uran agrees to this but says he wanted to hire his own man. Ilya says she would have helped him if he had told her earlier, but Uran assures her that there is no need for that since he has found the right person for the job. Speaking of the devil, Jirano appears on the scene. Uran then introduces Jirano to his fiancée. Momentarily, the squad leader of Ilya's escorts, Musk, asks her who she is talking to, and when she says Uran, Musk is blown away. He appears to be flustered by Uran's presence, and he starts introducing himself down to the minute details. Uran returns the gesture, but even if he doesn't say anything, Uran knows who he is. He is the one who wrote the story, so there is no character hidden from him. Uran knows that he is a background character who can't stand the poor. Apparently, it was supposed to take on another dimension in the novel. A hooded figure was supposed to block Musk's path and the night as they moved. Musk talked trash to the person, but at that moment the hero stepped forward. A fight breaks out, but Ilya manages to arrive on the scene just in time to stop the fight, and after this the two become Romeo and Juliet. Not long after this, the hero accompanied Ilya in battle and saved her from a life and death situation. Since he can't find the hero at the moment to get him to help, Uran realizes that he has no choice. He has to save Ilya and prevent her from dying. Uran then asks Ilya where they are headed, and she reveals that there are reports of raids by orcs near Asu Castle. Apparently, the orcs are growing in numbers, and Ilya and her squad have been given the order to wipe out the orcs. Just then, Uran asks Ilya for a favor, and this is him escorting her. Ilya is shocked to hear this, and she demands to know why Uran wants to come. Uran simply replies that he wants combat experience since he is still in training. In addition to this, he tells Ilya that he would like to see her skills. Ilya lets Uran know that it could turn out dangerous, but Uran assures her that he can handle himself despite how frail he looks. Ilya thinks over it for a minute, and once she is done, she orders Musk to provide Uran and the blacksmith horses. Musk protests against this, telling Ilya that they are not going on a picnic. In addition to this, he doesn't want them to let their guard down even if they are going up against ordinary orcs. Musk adds further that he can't sense a trace of mana from Uran and the blacksmith. Musk continues rambling until Ilya gets serious and lets him know that she just gave him an order. Musk has no choice but to do this, but he is not happy with it, even though there is nothing he can do about it. As they ride for their destination, Ilya tells Uran to always stay by her side since they are heading to a dangerous location. Uran assures Ilya that he will follow her every move. It turns out that Uran and Jirano are sharing the same horse, and Uran urges him to hold on to him tight. With this, they start riding to the target destination. When they reach the presumed location, Ilya tells her team that they will have to split into teams of 5 to find the orc settlement. She urges them not to attack if they find it. She wants them to retreat and fire a signal flare. With this, the group split up. After hours of searching, one of the knights asks Ilya what they are to do since it is already getting late. Ilya then says they have no choice but to turn back and come back the next day. Suddenly, they see a signal flare in the air. However, another flare soon goes up in the air again. In no time, 4 flares go up in the air. Ilya then suggests that they head to the nearest flare, which is to the west. Her squad immediately follows her, but by the time they get there, all the soldiers are already dead. Ilya is horrified by the way the soldiers were all killed. One of the soldiers notices that the armor on their bodies was shattered, leaving them to wonder what sort of weapon hit them. Ilya then orders that they head to the south to check on the soldiers there. By the time they reach there, they meet the same horrific scene from where they are coming from. All the soldiers are already dead, and one of the knights suggests that they move to the next location. Ilya agrees with him, but Uran stops them, saying they can't move at the moment. Ilya is shocked when Uran says this, wondering what he meant by it. Uran points out that the orcs are hunting down their soldiers and are currently winning. Uran lets Ilya know that they are outnumbered and have no chance of winning. Uran wants them to fire the signal and gather the rest of the troops. Just then, one of the soldiers screams at Uran, telling him to keep his mouth shut because he is a nobody. The soldier blames Uran for what is currently happening. While this is happening, Uran remembers that the protagonist also got cursed at the same spot. Because of this, readers got frustrated and scolded our guy for dragging things on. Hearing the soldier speak to him this way starts to fire up Uran's PTSD. As he continues to ramble, Uran tells him to shut his mouth. Uran hits him with an attack before he can even realize it, and he falls off his horse. Uran tells him to know his place and remain where he is. The soldier is forced to answer Uran like his boss, since he is already paralyzed. He then tells him to watch and see. Uran raises his hand, and with this, the dude is able to move again. In the main story, Ilya didn't listen to the hero and did what she thought was right. However, Uran wants to see if it will be different this time around. He asks Ilya what her choice will be. Surprisingly, Ilya agrees with Uran, and she orders her men to fire the blue signal flare immediately. She wants the troops to be gathered where they are. The soldiers do as told, and they fire the flares into the air. The soldiers then start tending to their fallen comrades, while the blacksmith walks over to Uran to tell him that he is amazing. He says Uran was able to make items move the way he wanted, but Uran doesn't count it as a big deal. He asks Uran if the soldiers are going to meet up with them, but Uran lets him know that most of the soldiers won't make it. Apparently Uran knows what he is doing, and he is actually waiting for the real fight to come to him. Suddenly, a soldier comes toward their position, telling Ilya that they need to run. The soldier looks absolutely terrified, as if he had seen a ghost. Coming behind the soldiers is a bunch of scary and powerful orcs. Just the sheer numbers of the orcs send chills down the soldiers' spines. Ilya turns to Uran and apologizes to him because he's about to die, and it is all her fault. Just then, Uran tells Ilya not to worry because no one is dying. Just as he says this, he walks toward the orcs, shocking Ilya. Ilya is confused as she watches Uran approach the orcs before summoning Agnes. He tells her that it is time they try what they have been practicing for the past 2 days. Uran tells Agnes to generate iron bullets, and Agnes follows his orders. Apparently this is a technique that Uran acquired after reaching 3-star of the 10,000 poisons body, but he has never had the chance to use it. The skill is called black iron. It releases concealed weapons filled with inner strength by detonating black iron bullets. The required weapon for this is a black iron bullet. Uran then shoots the bullet at the orcs, and it lands in their midst without doing any damage, leaving the orcs to stare at Uran like a fool. Suddenly, the bullet explodes, tearing apart every orc in its range. The remaining orcs are shocked when they see this, but Uran is not yet done with them. Uran recalls the bullet and launches it again. This time around, it pierces through the orcs before exploding and turning them to pulp. Uran recalls the bullet again, and Ilya asks him what it is that he is throwing. Uran reveals that it is called the Black Iron Blast. Uran smiles at Ilya, promising to tell her the details about the weapon later. With Uran's 2 consecutive attacks, he has drastically reduced the orcs. Ilya is motivated by this, and she immediately screams at her soldiers, telling them to get into action. She lets them know that they can win, and she urges them to strike down the rest of the orcs. Ilya charges forward, and her soldiers follow suit. Ilya slices off an orc's head as if it were tissue paper, and her soldiers also follow her lead. One of the orcs realizes that they are no longer a match for the soldiers and turns around to run. However, he runs into a red brick wall. The red brick wall turns out to be a giant red orc with a terrifying aura. The red orc grabs the escaping soldier by the head and crushes him. The soldiers and the rest of the orcs on the scene almost wet themselves at the sight of the terrifying monster in front of them. The red orc is so giant that regular green orcs look like peanuts compared to him. The red orc is also wielding a building-sized blade, but Uran doesn't look surprised as he is already expecting the legendary red orc warrior Karuta. Uran knows that they will all be done for unless they kill Karuta that very day.